Good afternoon. Now, before we start, somebody in the chat, let me know if you can hear us, because last time I did one of these, everything exploded. Oh, no, okay, we're on live. Good afternoon, y'all. Welcome to the very first edition of the Trigger Train live stream with myself, the grumpy old bastard, and my special guest. Today we have Noel from the Tardis Zone. Hello, Noel.
How are you, Ballstrick? Thanks for having me on.
Okay, and just in the chat, just let me know. Can you hear Noel? Okay, so they can hear me. I can hear you. Yes. Okay. Awesome.
Great.
Welcome. I guess we'll start, Noel. In case people don't know who you are, tell them who you are.
So basically, I do Doctor Who videos. I've been doing Doctor Who videos now for about 2 years, but really the last couple of months, obviously since Series 11, I've been doing videos on Series 11. So I do Doctor Who videos. Obviously some of them can be quite controversial, and I do get, obviously like yourself, a lot of stick out there for the videos that I do. But yeah, so primarily I break news as well. I've been getting information on Series 12. On the channel we broke the Judoon news before BBC had announced it to the fandom. We also broke the Cybermen news before everybody else did a few months back. Same with the Daleks. And obviously the biggest news that we've had is Jodie Whittaker steps down from her role in 2020. So that's what I'm known for. Like yourself, I just do videos on YouTube, and yeah, I seem to trigger a lot of people.
Awesome. So what I was thinking of doing I was going to make a video on this, but I think we're just going to discuss it in the stream. Maybe I'll make a video later. But news about Scarlett Johansson came out today. I'm just going to see if the screen share actually works. So bear with me if everything explodes. Screen one, share. There we go. Okay, so you can see me up there. So Scarlett Johansson says she was typecast as hypersexualized as a young actress. It wasn't part of my own narrative. Wasn't part of your own narrative. What the hell does that mean? Noel, tell me, what does that mean?
Well, it basically means, if we listen to what she's saying, is that she actually hadn't got a say on the way she was typecast. But she's an actress. That's her job. She's going to be given certain jobs because she has a certain look. And we actually spoke about this off air. I mean, the woman has become very wealthy in what she has done. And I mean, this is just the normal rhetoric that seems to be coming out from these people lately. It's not just the women that are coming out, but some of the men are coming out and saying the same thing. I think, as we spoke about off air, I honestly think it is these guys, they just say these things because they want to stay relevant, and they have to be on the side of the argument that's basically winning, because they're, at the end of the day, they're actors and actresses and they need work, and a lot of these people just say things to be relevant. But she doesn't need to be saying these things because she is still highly relevant. I was looking forward to the Black Widow movie, to be honest with you. But after
I was not so much anymore.
I'm not gonna watch the movie now, to be quite honest with you. I'm not, because why should we? I mean, she's at the insulting basically most of her fandom. Whether these women like her or not, these radical feminists out there that are trying to change the world, right? They think they're doing it for the betterment of women, but they're actually not. The problem is, what they've got to understand is whether they like it or not, most of the fandom in these kind of franchises are male, and if you isolate those fans, well, then you're in serious trouble. I mean, look at Captain Marvel. We won't get into too much on that, but look at the behavior of Brie Larson. I mean, how did that go? How was Captain Marvel? How much Captain Marvel merchandise is actually selling?
Well, it's well, Brie Larson, she's just lovely. Like she's a great actress. I love that woman. I'm Captain Marvel. I've watched it 60 times, like that one guy in the theater. But let's just take a look at one thing here before we go into the article. So Scarlett Johansson has a net worth of 140 million.
Wow.
So, oh wait, we got our very first super chat from Henry K. Henry, I hope this gets you money and not YouTube, and you make great videos. Harry, thank you very much. And because this is actually the first live stream I've done on the main channel, you officially were my first super chat. Thank you very much, my friend. Okay, so we're going to go back into this article. So, Scarlett Johansson says that she was typecast and hypersexualized years ago. Were you? But there have been changes in the entertainment industry since then. No shit. The climate is so different now. There's so many wonderful opportunities for women because men can just go fuck off and die. Probably get demonetized, but that's okay. They demonetize everything anyway. At every age, play all different types of people. The 34-year-old star said during a conversation with Jennifer Lopez, irrelevant, Laura Dern, pretty much a love, or well, purple hair. Lupita Nyong'o, I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah, well, she's kind of relevant these days. Renee Zellweger, no longer relevant. And Aquafina, actress roundtable. Oh, I'm sure it was just wonderful. Johansson continues. When I was working in my early 20s and even my late teens, I felt that I got somehow typecast and hypersexualized. And were you complaining about it at the time? No, you weren't.
Exactly.
Which I guess at the time seemed okay to everyone. Well, you made money off it.
Exactly.
It was another time. Yeah, we miss the old days. God help us. 2019, yo. Even though it was part of my own narrative. Oh, I'm sure it was part. Well, then, ScarJo, if you want to complain about this, then, okay, look at these movies where you were hypersexualized. I've got a challenge for you. Anything you made off those movies, donate it. Give it away.
Exactly.
Give it to some women's rights. If other than that, shut the fuck up. Oh, I'm really getting demonetized now.
No, but you're right. If she's that upset about it, like all those other actresses that are coming out and speaking up now, like Brie Larson, Jodie Whittaker, obviously, and Scarlett Johansson. If you're so disgusted by that that environment, well then, as Baldstreck said, go and donate your money then. But you won't donate your money because you were okay taking the paycheck at the time. And this is the problem that we have. If you didn't take the paycheck and he's objected at the time, then we would back you up. But the fact that you're only coming out and saying it now and you took that money, I'm sorry. If you take that money, right, then you agreed to do what you did in those movies. So as he said, shut the fuck up, basically. It's true. They need to stop this rhetoric. It's absolutely ridiculous the way they're going on. And Scarlett Johansson is relevant, so I don't know why she felt the need. And this is not the first time she's come out with something, by the way, Baldstreck. Didn't she come out with something a couple of months even previous to that? She said something similar. She apologized, didn't she? She came out with comments about, wasn't it trans? Or she could do any role. She could play any role. And she got
she
apologized, and now she's coming out with all this rhetoric. So,
it almost seemed like she was getting red pilled, but then that went right out the window because this is what we do in Hollywood now. Just to continue with the article, I'm sure it gets even funnier. It was kind of crafted for me by probably, so you don't know for sure, a bunch of dudes in the industry. Well, yes, and dudes in the industry, well, if you're a dude of a certain demographic, yeah, you're not welcome anymore. We already know that. That's why Hollywood has gone to hell, and thank God for old horror movies. Johansson has been acting since she was 8 years old and landed her earliest roles in the 90s. She went on to earn total four total Golden Globe nominations for her roles in Lost in Translation, Girl with the Pearl Earring, a love song for, I've never heard of any of these. Well, I've heard of Lost in Translation and something called Match Point. Let's see, does it go on? Oh, it does. During her THR discussion, Johansson said, "It was really difficult for me to try to figure out how to get out of being an ingenuine or the other woman because it was never anything I had intended. But you took the money.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
remember thinking at the time that maybe I needed a different job in this industry that would be more fulfilling. Well, then why didn't you take it?
So hold
Because it
on,
seemed
you saying
more
that
like,
every role that she's been in hasn't fulfilled her, that every role that she's been in, she's felt pressured into doing certain things. Well, if that's the case, then you shouldn't be acting.
yeah, or just say no or don't take the role.
Mhm.
If you know that's going to be intended, you're getting the script, the script, and
Mhm.
after she reached a certain caliber, she could say no, but you accepted the script, and now 15, 20, 25, whatever years later, you're complaining about it. Does she give any examples? The
Yeah.
actress made her cinematic debut as Black Widow, which I was looking forward to, but not so much anymore. Her character's storyline came to a conclusion in Avengers Endgame, and then it's actually really odd that they're doing the Black Widow movie after the fact.
Yeah.
I just want to see, does she give any examples in here? She went on to say that making her in 2000 was liberating and affected her acting career. I totally okay, so where are the examples?
There
Or
never
are you
is
just
any examples, though. And when they do give examples, they're pretty weak examples. I mean, you've got this whole narrative that's been going around for the past few years that there hasn't been any women in leading roles. And that's certainly not true. I mean, especially in sci-fi, had some of the biggest roles in sci-fi. Let's be honest, most of them are leading ladies. It's just this typical rhetoric that comes out of their mouth. They try to make it out that women are still oppressed and all this and that, that it's still an uneven playing field. And that may be the case in some parts, but it's not certainly a wider societal issue that people are making it out to be. And most of these women, let's be honest, most of these women that apparently go around trying to empower women, women are happy with what they do. They don't need us men, or they don't need other women, radical feminists, telling them what to do. They can think for themselves and make up their own mind and choose their own path in life. They don't need these people telling them what to do. And everything that comes out of their mouth is complete and utter lies. It's lies. Look at Sarah Connor, right? Ellen Ripley. We even had Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the 90s. According to Jodie Whittaker, there was no female leads when she was growing up as a kid. And as I said last night, well, I'm sorry that your parents didn't raise you great and they stopped you from watching TV, but you're actually talking out your arse, because there was plenty of female leads when you were growing up. It's just the same usual rhetoric from these people. And, I'm disappointed in Scarlett Johansson because she's a very talented actress. I love her character, Black Widow. She was in a movie. It's the only Michael Bay movie that I actually bleeding like. It's called The Island with Ewan McGregor. Michael Bay actually constrains himself right until the end of the movie, and then he blows up shit. But it was actually a good movie. It was called The Island. So basically, it's a futuristic thing. So basically, these people, they're living in this thing and they think they're winning the lotto and all this, but it turns out that they're basically clones for the real life people that are living outside. And when they get picked, they're basically it's weird. Their organs and all are used and all this, but it was a good movie, and I do like her. I have to say, Ma has watched a Girl with the Pearl Earring. I think that's about one of the Boleyn sisters that was married to Henry VIII or something, some crap like that. But she is talented. She doesn't need to be doing this. She would get rolled, but again, it's Hollywood. It's the atmosphere that's created. These people, she probably, I don't think she truly believes in everything that she's coming out with, because she's made a good, healthy career out of it. And if she really had a problem with it, Ballstreck, she wouldn't have took the money. You know what I mean? This is what annoys me about these people. Well, if this is really an issue, then why did you take the money? Why did you just, and someone saying in the live comments, they just jumped on the bandwagon because that's where the money is. I agree. Exactly. That's why she's done it, because she wants to make sure that she still has a job. Because if you're seen to be going against the narrative, then you're going to be left behind. And it's only a phase. This will die out eventually. It's stuck around longer than we thought, but it's just a phase, and it will go. But look at all the damage it's done.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if current studios outside of the BBC, because they've got the lovely license fee to support them, but the way I see it now is the identity politics are being doubled down and tripled down on at this point, that I don't think any of these studios can survive. And one thing that I should say, when you see garbage like this, a lot of my viewers and followers on Twitter are female. And I hear the same thing over and over again. They're tired of people like this speaking up for them. Most of them are not ideologues. Most of them do not hate men. It's maybe it comes with the wealth, with the Hollywood bubble, where you don't live in the real world. You live in your glitter mansion. So you have no idea how the real world works. And I don't think these people have any idea how normal interpersonal dynamics works. And that's a big part of the problem. And right now we're seeing with the wokeness, and it's all about categories. And Noel and I are both Generation X, which right now, between the battle between the baby boomers and millennials, we've been completely left out of the equation, which kind of goes and describes the entire experience of our generation. But we're the only ones that actually see sense. Whereas the baby boomers, well, they're older, they're blocked in their ways, they're not going to change. And I'm not talking about the entire demographic. I'm talking about, generally how large segments of the demographic are characterized. Whereas millennials, and again, not talking about all millennials, but the way it's characterized, and also Generation Z, they look at your value based solely on your demographic representation. And if you happen to be a straight white male, then you're garbage. Whereas Generation X, the way we were brought up, the way society was in the 80s when we were kids, and the 90s when we were teenagers in our early 20s, we judge people based on their individual characteristics, regardless of race, gender, or sexual orientation. Are you a good person? Do you contribute to society? Okay, good. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care what color you are. Are you a good person? And people like this are not good people. They're fake. And thank you, a boomer. Like I said, Triniculus Pete, not all boomers. I know many boomers that are perfectly reasonable. I'm just talking about the way this whole debate has been kind of structured. Like my parents are boomers. My dad is 72, so he's one of the oldest boomers. But I have to give my parents credit. They have actually tried to change. They can't grasp technology to save their lives, which is true of most boomers, but not all. But some have tried to change, but some are just locked in their beliefs. But also boomers are being mischaracterized as well, where it's this whole entire generation is just hateful and greedy towards everyone else. Well, you might be talking about definitely the upper 1%, maybe some of the wealthier elements, but there are a lot of boomers that haven't known wealth, haven't known the advantages that they all are written off as having. Generation X, well, we didn't have any advantages. We followed the baby boomers into the workforce to no jobs, watched the economy implode in 2008 when we were in our 30s, and then watched the entire world turn into a regressive nightmare when we started to approach 40. And then we got forgotten about. So now we're just kind of laughing. And the we'll call it mass media that are spewing these things want to avoid our generation, because the argument that we make makes sense. And they don't want something that makes sense. The goal these days is to divide people. They've divided us by race. They divided us by gender. And now with OK Boomer, they're trying to divide us by age.
I still can't get my head around most of these terms, Boomer, Generation X. Do you know what? You're right. It's just become a world of labels, and actors and actresses have become propaganda pieces. They're not selected for their talent anymore. They're selected because of their personal beliefs and ideology. And this is why a lot of these actresses like Scarlett Johansson will come out and say things publicly, because she wants the people in powerful places to know, listen, I'm on board, sort of thing. And it's a shame, because Hollywood it's gonna implode. It's done as far as I'm concerned. I mean, there's not one movie out there that's coming out that I'm actually looking forward to seeing. I think cinema is going to die out, to be quite honest with you. They need to change course pretty quick.
One thing that's kind of funny, in the back, you can see Netflix. Netflix is going to be Blockbuster, but in Netflix's case, it went woke and it's going to go broke. When you look, and now the streaming wars are now in full gear, which I think is ridiculous and annoying, and I'm not subscribing to any of it. But every other studio, except for Prime, has a large back catalog of TV shows, movies, whatever that they own the rights to. So they have an inbuilt audience. Prime, even though it doesn't have as many originals as Netflix, but Prime is there, but Amazon doesn't need to rely on Prime. It's part of the overall Prime package, and apparently less than 1/3 of Prime subscribers actually watch Prime anyway. I mainly use it for the free shipping. But what does Netflix have? So 5 years ago, Netflix controlled the world. They had, like, you go to Netflix, you could find everything. Why? Because they were the only game in town. Now, obviously, other entities were going to be coming into the streaming service. So Netflix is now losing everything that anyone would want to watch. They've already lost most of it. And when they lose The Office next year, which is their #1 watch show, they're really screwed. So Netflix did not have a back catalog of its own material to survive off of. In, 2011, they started making their own shows with the early ones. But, you have stuff like Orange is the New Black, and why am I spacing on Kevin Spacey's show name? No,
that was great.
I've got the Alzheimer's. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was House of Cards. That was great. I actually liked.
Oh no, I've actually watched it several times. I was blanking on the name. But so yeah, House of Cards, which was decent. Then we had the whole Kevin Spacey thing. Yeah. Orange is the New Black, which we weren't really in a super woke society at the time, so that's okay. They had other shows. But when they started pumping hundreds of millions of dollars into creating new content, which is what they need to survive, what did they do? Go to your Netflix. It's all woke garbage. All of it. What do they have? They've got like 13 shows of women in prison now. Really? There's that kind of audience for it? And I don't have anything against LGBT content. I think there's content out there for everyone. But when I go to Canadian Netflix, there are 3 sections for that content. Right. Now, it applies to a specific demographic, which it should. I think everybody needs something that appeals to them. Everybody needs something that is directed towards them. Yeah. But when you gear everything towards that demographic, and if you, we got a second super chat. I'm going to give preference to these as they come in.
No problem.
Okay, so second super chat from Garbage, $10 or 10 UK pounds. Bulls Trek, you are a legend. Thank you very much, my friend. I try to be, at least interesting, if not that ranty. So you are a legend. Plus Noel are doing a live stream. Yes, or glad you and Noel are doing a live stream. Awesome. Yeah, well, Noel is actually a very good personal friend, so it made sense to have him here for the first stream. Please do more. I'm thinking of doing these on Saturdays when I can. We're going to see how this one goes. Your woke Batman and diversity #5 are funny. We might discuss woke Batman. And true. Yesterday's children in need, Doctor Who wasted. We're going to be discussing that in a little bit, but thank you very much for the super chat. You are awesome, my friend. So we were saying, so Netflix. So what do they have to go on now? They're losing all their back catalog stuff. I think they still have a deal going with AMC. So Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. I think Halt and Catch Fire. I think they can still rely on that. Right. But 2/3 of Netflix viewership comes from content that they don't own. It comes from licensed content. So older shows that normal people want to watch. Like I rarely ever watch actual Netflix content. And out of that 10%, or that 1/3, comprises of only a handful of shows. We've got Stranger Things, which did kind of drop off a little bit this season in terms of quality, but we've got that. There's a show called Ozark that I like. There's a show that actually recently launched its second season called The End of the Fucking World, but doesn't actually say fucking worth watching. I haven't seen it yet, but I like season 1. Right. And maybe a handful of other shows that are worth watching, but that's it. So when the last of this back catalog is lost, there's only going to be a third of their audience left, and they're done. Like, they are finished. It's a blockbuster type scenario. They were a modern blockbuster. They were a video delivery service, except they did it digitally.
Yeah.
Now that they have nothing to go off of, or will soon have nothing to go off of, they might exist, but maybe as a shadow of their former selves, with maybe 1/3 of their subscription base left, if they're lucky.
Yeah, they're making a lot of movies with Eddie Murphy and Adam Sandler as well, though. And I think Brad Pitt did one with them as well. I mean, did they try? I don't know much about the whole Netflix thing. I know there's a streaming wars happening right now, but have Netflix basically put their eggs in one basket, and this is why they're gonna fail?
Like, they do have decent shows, but the problem is it was roughly about 2 years ago when they started to dump hundreds of millions of dollars into new content.
Yeah.
And I will often give these shows a chance, and usually I won't make it through one episode. Right. But you gambled and you're going to lose. And somebody said, yeah, Punisher season 2, LOL. Yeah, to be honest, I have to watch The Punisher. But yeah, and a big drive to Netflix also was their Marvel content, which that has all now come to an end. I believe the back catalog, because they partially own it, are going to stay on there, but they're not going to be seeing any newer stuff. But Marvel has imploded anyway, so that's another story altogether. But so Noel, we were talking about this before the stream, so we'll switch to Doctor Who now. Actually, I'll turn screen sharing off for now.
Right.
So we'll take ScarJo away. So Noel, Doctor Who, Children in Need. So what happened yesterday, or was it yesterday?
Yeah, it was yesterday. So there was a little girl called Anastasia. She suffers from anxiety and depression, and she got into drama school through this thing that was funded by Children in Need. Then she was brought up onto the stage, and then there was about a 15-second VT with Jodie Whittaker, Manip Gill, and Tolson Cole sitting on a sofa, and they pretended that they were filming in America. And she said, Tolson says, there's a 5-second delay. And she says, hang on, I can fix that. I'm the doctor. And she takes her screwdriver out, presses the screwdriver, and then the big screen on the stage opens up, and Jodie Whittaker, Manip Gill, and Tolson Cole come out. Now, the little girl's reaction was absolutely priceless. Now, I've heard a lot of people criticize that. Listen, it was for charity. Okay, I thought it was actually a nice moment. That was a child meeting her idol. Now, we might have problems with Jodie Whittaker, yes, but that was a child. We all felt that way when our favorite, when a new doctor came along or a doctor was leaving, we got upset or we felt joy or whatever. That child was expressing, met our idol and was happy, right? So I have no problem with that. The problem I do have was, I don't think BBC did enough for the child. You bring the child onto the stage, Jodie Whittaker hands her the screwdriver, which was a nice little moment. She was absolutely delighted with that. But there was nothing else from Jodie Whittaker to, like, saying to the child, we'll bring you onto the Tardis set, we'll show you around the Tardis. Nothing like that. And then Jodie Whittaker, it was only Jodie Whittaker that spoke. Tolson Cole and Manip Gill just stood there. Now the Anastasia, she hugged the three of them, but they just stood there. She said a few words, and then that was it. That was the whole thing. Now, obviously, you know, people were expecting a trailer, and this is why people are angry. But you don't take it out on a little girl. I'm sorry, but you don't. That was a nice moment, and you must have a heart of stone if you didn't think that was a nice moment. I thought that was a nice moment. The child, you know, it was, our story was heartbreaking. A child suffering from anxiety and depression like that. Do you know what I mean? The story was highlighted, and she got to meet someone that gave her pleasure for a few minutes. Why hate that? Do you know what I mean? I think people are letting their hatred of Jodie Whittaker take over, to be quite honest. But that was it. It was pretty pathetic for a children in need appearance now, Ballstrek. I'm not going to lie, but you cannot criticize that moment with that little girl. If you criticize that, there's something wrong with you. And I know you don't, but I've seen it on Twitter, I've seen it on YouTube, and I've quite frankly seen it on Facebook, and it's actually disgusting. You just don't need, people are letting their hatred of Jodie Whittaker take over. It was a nice little moment, and, you know, she showed a bit, Jodie again, for what, 2 weeks in a row, showed a bit of personality, which annoys me because it shows me that she has some personality. Oh, look, she's still wrong for the role. I still think she's over her head. But if she hadn't been able, if the shackles were taken off, you know, we're never going to know what Jodie Whittaker would have been really like as the Doctor, because Chris Chibnall, in my opinion, has hindered her too much with the writing, and basically told her to play the scene without actually giving her any direction whatsoever. That man is clueless.
And I tend to agree. And I've had people ask, are you going to make a video on children in need? No, I'm not. I agree with you. I think they should have done a lot more, but I'm not going to make an attack video with that girl involved. It was a heartfelt moment. But in terms of Jodie Whittaker, it's not that she can't act, because some of the things, like the first time I saw her was, I think it was around 2011. It was a BBC mini series. It was called Grassland or Grass Point or something like that. It was a show that takes place in the same house in 3 different time periods, and she did okay there. Broadchurch, it was kind of touch and go, setting aside the ideology for a moment. Sometimes she played it well, but sometimes she was completely flat. The problem with Whittaker is she's completely miscast for the Doctor, but it's also her own ideology. It's absolutely toxic. And I could say I was Dave Cullen was actually the first to call out Doctor Who when it started to go down the drain. I think I was the second major channel. Well, actually, I wasn't even a major channel at the time to do it. But I've been reading into this ever since the casting announcement was made. And I know I've told the story before, but at the end of Series 10, the last episode review, which is still online, I said, I hope there is no bullshit going on with the regeneration, which at that point I was starting to get suspicious. The announcement was made on, I believe it was a Sunday. That Saturday, that's when the rumor came out that Jodie Whittaker is being cast as the new Doctor. And just double check here. Did I miss something? Oh, wait, I missed a super chat. SLW Bear for £5. Hello, Bulls Trek. Love the channel. Missy was a brilliant female Time Lord, unlike Jodie. What the frack thoughts? Actually, yeah, we can discuss that because it actually ties into what we're doing right now. And thank you very much for the super chat. I believe I've gotten them all. Just double checking. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I love Michelle Gomez, mainly because she's fucking nuts. There's another show. Has anybody ever seen Bad Education? I think it might have been on Channel 4. It's actually available on Netflix, at least Netflix Canada, where she plays it's a story about a school, and she plays a sadistic vice principal. Actually, well worth watching. But I love Michelle Gomez. This is somebody that just doesn't give a shit, and was perfect casting for the Doctor, for the Master. Now, I kind of called it very early on. People were saying it's the Ronnie, and I was kind of going the direction is no, this is the Master, but it was still a brilliant reveal. Now, if that were to be revealed now, 4 years later, we would probably see there's some kind of, identity politics stuff going on. But this was 4 years ago, and things hadn't really gotten out of control yet. And it's actually, no, it was 5 years ago. God damn, time flies. But yeah, perfect casting. And I think the reveal was brilliant. But the background of that is it was a test for a female doctor. Now, there are questions. Why did Doctor Who go off on the tangent that it did? It does start with Stephen Moffat. Now, BBC is mainly to blame with the diversity and inclusion strategy. But around the time of the 50th anniversary, there were articles, and I have to go find them, but there were several, where Stephen Moffat was being accused of being a misogynist. Because if you look at Doctor Who, really prior to the Capaldi era, there was some of that, but it didn't completely take over. People will say RTD, there was what they call the quote gay agenda. No, there really wasn't. It was there, but you also have to keep in mind RTD, he's a gay man himself, so he was also writing from his own perspective.
Exactly.
But Stephen Moffat was being called a misogynist based on the way he was portraying women. And I think they were specifically referring to the scene where Amy tries to jump the doctor, one of the more comical scenes. So I think he took that to heart, because by the time we got to the Capaldi era, you could see that feminist talking points were starting to be included with Series 8. And I think you can also look at the character of Clara, where there was a complete, Jenna Coleman is playing a completely different character for each of those 3 seasons, and that's part of the problem. Season 10 Clara wasn't really much like season 9 Clara. She was turned into a feminist character, and that was taken through even more with Series 9, which I think is when Doctor Who really went down the hill. But the whole feminist agenda, it starts with the BBC, and it starts with Moffat taking criticism personally and then overcompensating for it.
Yeah.
But I think, and we're talking about Jodie Whittaker. So she has done marginally well at what she's done in the past, but we're talking about the announcement. So the day before, rumors started coming out of Jodie Whittaker being cast as the Doctor. And as soon as I started to see those stories, I'm like, this is too specific. And luckily at the time I had the week off. Normally I would have been working that day, and it would have been a really shitty shift if I had. But I was sitting here at my computer where I am now, and I had Doctor Who news up around the time that the announcement was being made, or the video was going to be shown, because obviously it wasn't shown in North America. So I just kept refreshing it, like, stay tuned, hit refreshed. Jodie Whittaker will be the 13th Doctor. More to follow. At which point I'm like, oh shit. Now, I spent the day going over a forum that I don't frequent anymore, but they love me over there. I will not mention this forum by name, but I'm sure a lot of people know who it is. So I spent the day going over this forum, and just people weren't even criticizing it yet. And just anyone that even showed a shadow of a doubt was pounced on. I'm watching YouTube, and I'm seeing video after video. This is great. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about the gender. I don't actually care. Like, I prefer the Doctor to be a male. But the point that I've always taken is, if they want to change the gender, but they can do it in a way that makes sense within the narrative of the show, it's fine. But I knew this is not that they were where they were going. We could see where the show was headed. We could see the diversity and inclusion strategy. We knew Jodie Whittaker was a feminist even then, not as bad as it eventually turned out. So I started watching videos on YouTube, and I called out problems with Doctor Who for the first time with a video that December after I saw the return of Dr. Mysterio. It's back when I was still doing videos on camera. So that was the first time that I noted there were issues with Doctor Who, but I didn't know it was going to be this bad. So I'm going through YouTube, and it's just everybody like, this is great. This is awesome. I'm like, can none of you see what's going on here? I think the only channel I found that was actually criticizing it was Matrix Lord 212, where Joe did a series of videos about it. I think he had like 22 to 3 hour live streams about it over the course of a few days. And in terms of making my response, because I was still a small channel, but I knew I had to respond to this, it took me a week to find some way of responding to this casting without sounding hateful. And there's a video, it's absolutely awful by my current standards, but that video is still on my channel. It's called On the 13th Doctor. Sorry about that. But I was trying to be as diplomatic as possible. I'm like, okay, there's might be some agendas here. We'll give her a chance, but be aware of certain things. If you want a good laugh, watch it. I made a couple Doctor Who videos. After that, I did the 13th Doctor, a more critical analysis, or it was called something like that. And in that video, this was when Peter Davison started to be attacked for what he said. And also Sylvester McCoy was also against the idea, but he, after watching what happened to Peter Davison, he pretty much, he just shut the hell up. Colin Baker, I love the man, but he went completely off the deep end. So I did that. I did another video called The Rise and Fall of Doctor Who, which is still available. I think that was September 2017, where I was kind of tracing the way original Doctor Who fell, drawing parallels to New Who, and speculating as to what was going to happen with the 13th Doctor. And unfortunately, my speculation at that point, what we actually got was worse than what I would have even gotten at the time.
Yeah.
But then I realized how toxic the fan base had become when I put up a video called Is Doctor Who Becoming a PR Disaster? In this video, I actually started off by proposing, okay, if you wanted to change the gender, there's a way to go about doing it. So I used the example of Olivia Colman, who I think would be perfectly suited to do the Doctor. So this is how you should do it. This is how they actually did it. So I wasn't actually arguing against the Doctor being a woman. But the amount of hate, that video, about a month after I put it up, it actually went viral and my channel exploded. And the amount of hate that I got, and actually to this day still get on that video, I've never seen before. And it's like, I'm not even attacking, I'm being called sexist, I'm being called misogynistic, the lowest of the low. And I'm like, I didn't even argue against the Doctor being a woman. So that's when this ideology starts to creep in. And unfortunately, with Doctor Who, we're at the point right now where it's completely destroyed the show. The fan base is absolutely toxic.
Yeah.
To the point now, I know whenever I put up a Doctor Who video, a shit show was coming to my channel. And the funny thing is, my highest viewed videos this year, very few of them are Doctor Who. And yet most of my hate comes from the Doctor Who community and certain elements. I'm talking the 5% of the community that is left. But they have toxified this show to the point that there is no going back. I keep saying they could cast another Tom Baker. They could cast another David Tennant. People will not forget about this. And also, let's keep in mind, this is also run by the BBC.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think, Nolan, talking about this, you kind of see things in a similar way as well. Well, actually, I don't know if we've really talked about this. Let's go back to 2017. Yeah. What was your initial reaction to the casting of Whitaker?
Well, firstly, like yourself, I kind of knew the night before that she was going to be cast because, like you, the information just seemed to be too specific. And when I seen the teaser, because I actually seen the teaser, I don't know if you actually seen the teaser, but there was a lot of the first teaser, there was a lot of references to Broadchurch in it. There was also a lot of references to female. So I kind of had my suspicions that it was definitely going to be a woman. But then as soon as, like yourself, as soon as I heard Jodie Whittaker's name being mentioned, and it was being mentioned several places, I thought, yeah, she's the next Doctor. And then I was actually watching that Wimbledon. I was actually watching Wimbledon on the TV. I actually watched it on the TV. And I remember saying, it's game over. I actually did. I remember saying out loud. And another YouTuber, I don't know if you know him, Wingy Media.
Oh, yeah, I know him. I've actually talked to him on Twitter. So, yeah, I know who he is.
Right. He's probably one of the nicest guys in the fandom. And he did a video on Jodie Whittaker's casting. And he didn't know. He's not as radical as I am. Right. He came out and he put his case across not in a nice way. But he was still willing to give it a go. He had to take that video down because of all the abuse. he had received because he cast doubt on the fact that a woman was now cast in the role. Me personally, I do believe that it is a male role. I don't think it should have changed. I do agree with you in terms of if it worked within the narrative of the show and made sense, that'd be okay. I'd still do, but myself, I think it is one of those roles like James Bond. It's locked down. It's a male role, and I know they've changed the canon now, but it doesn't sit with me well. I mean, look what's happened. You're right. Look at the fandom right now. Right, you cannot say anything now. Right,
and I think one thing that I wanted to make clear, there was a comment that said, "Aren't we the Doctor Who fan base?" I'm not. It's not so much us that I'm referring to. I'm referring to those that are fans of the current era. Now, I'm not necessarily all of them, but
exactly.
a lot of them. The Jodie Whittaker era fan base in 12 years of doing YouTube is actually I've been part of internet fandom going back to 1995, going back to old message boards and forums. This is the most toxic fan base I've ever seen.
Yeah, and the thing about it is when we talk about Doctor Who fans, well, there's a term for them. We call them J-bots, right? So they're the ones that will go around deliberately looking for people like myself and Ballstrick, call us out on what we have to say, and then like they have a habit of retweeting your tweets, and then of course, then as Ballstrick has said, I mean, even the hate I get on some of my videos, and I'm a literally a small channel, and I've had campaigns against me. Ballstrick also has had campaigns. It's absolutely, this fandom now is probably the most toxic fandom out there. I'd have to say that I think it's up there as one of the most toxic. And I say Star Wars fandom as well is probably equal in that. But they're the two most toxic fandoms right now. But this decision by the BBC wasn't taken for the reasons that they'd like to tell us. It's clear it was done for this. What was it? The inclusion and what was it?
The BBC Diversity and Inclusion Strategy. The strategy was launched in 2016, and I believe it was either 2018 or 2019, where it's now rigidly enforced by quotas and categories.
Yeah, true. Because there's a lot more. I mean, even the new War of the Worlds, which some people haven't seen, but I've actually have seen it. Don't get me wrong. I'll say one thing. This show does draw you in, right? But then after you've watched it, you're kind of like thinking to yourself, well, what have I watched? Now, they've changed. The main character in this is not actually a guy, which it usually does be. It's a pregnant single mother, American. Robert Carlyle is in it, and he's wasted, in my opinion. But I'm gonna do a review of War of the Worlds. But it's gonna be interesting. I did enjoy some parts of it, I have to say. I'm not gonna lie, but you see, because of this diversity, strategy, inclusion crap, I know that the only reason why they changed the lead. And remember, for people that don't know, War of the Worlds has been in production for 2 years. It was delayed. So they heavily changed the script from 2 years ago.
Yeah,
so
because they have to.
Basically, Ballstrike, it's in line with the narrative of today. But it does draw you in. I have to say, I was watching it and I couldn't. I was supposed to be doing a live stream, and I even went on my live stream late because you just find yourself watching just to see what happens. You should try find it if you can. I know it's out in some territories already, and I think it drops on BBC at the end of this month. So I mean, it's I seen the whole lot in a full block, whereas it's in parts when it goes out on the BBC. So I mean, you check it out. It might be something for you to do as well, a review on, because I know there's a lot. It's polarized a lot of opinion, critics alike, and even fans of War of the Worlds. So it'd be something that I think you'd be definitely interested in doing. And you're a sci-fi geek like myself, so I mean, I have to say I like the tripods in it. I hadn't got a problem with the tripods. I really didn't. I And I know we're going off topic a bit. I'll go back to Jodie.
Oh no, that's there's no real topic. Kind of going with the flow.
Yeah, it links into all this what BBC are doing right now, and what they don't realize is, and people need to realize, they're isolating a big section of their fans when they go down this route, and whether they like it or not. And I've said this several times, the majority of fans in especially sci-fi circles are male, whether they like it or not. That's just the fact of the matter. Women do like sci-fi, you know what I mean? But there's a lot more men that like. That's just the way it's always been. It's not sexist or whatever they like to think. And they think by changing all these characters, right, like the Doctor, making the Doctor a woman, right, that it will somehow balance fandoms and somehow balance. I mean, even the directors and the writers for Series 12 were announced, and with it's a 50-50 split now, Ballstrek. So there's 50% female writers.
I actually put up the from the original diversity inclusion checklist, and my mouse has decided to be a jerk. There we go. I think I fixed it. Yeah, so this is the inclusion strategy that we've discussed. So in here, this is a summary of our 2017 and then the targets for 2020.
Yeah.
So this is where, with the BBC, this is where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So workforce. So if you look at the 2000, we'll go look at the 2020 targets, because obviously 2017 was passed. So this is for staff and leadership. So these are all positions that don't involve on screen, obviously. So women, 50%. So let's just put it this way. Say there's a job that comes up. You got 10 women that apply, or no, you got 10 men that apply, 1 woman. They're over that target. The 10 men are perfectly qualified for the position. The woman is the lowest candidate. They're going to get the job because this is government mandated. Disability, 8%. Ethnic minorities, 15%. LGBT, 8%, which I don't have any issues with LGBT, but that's, I think, a little bit higher than what the proportion in society is. But you can't cast by category. So then if we look down on screen portrayal, it's the same thing. So this is what's happened. If you want to know what's gone wrong with the BBC, this is what's gone wrong with the BBC. Prior in 2017 is when everything across the board went to hell.
Mm.
And the BBC used to be known for making some of the best content in the world.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you look at classic British comedies, you know, Faulty Towers, One Foot in the Grave.
Yeah.
I love Keeping Up Appearances.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Monty Python. This goes on and on. What do they have now? It's when you cast people so they fit a specific category, you're going to fail because you're not getting the right person for the role. I don't care if the person is male, female, LGBT, what their race is. Are you the best person for the job? And what we're seeing right now is these are not the best people for the job. And this was the case with Jodie Whittaker. Part of it was because of if you look at this, it was the casting announcement was made in 2017, but apparently the decision had been made in March. But when you look at the casting of Jodie Whittaker, 2 mistakes. 1, cast because of the inclusion strategy and Doctor Who is their flagship program.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that if the BBC was going to go this way, then they were going to use Doctor Who.
Mm.
But the second is Chibbs himself. So the rumor, and I'm sure you heard the same rumors at the time, was that they wanted Olivia Colman to be the first female Doctor.
Yeah.
It would have worked, but unfortunately it would have been a woke mess even with Colman, except the performance wouldn't have been as bad. Exactly. Colman turned it down. So we also know that Chibnall was only auditioning females, which I would call that discrimination in itself.
Mm.
He picked somebody else that was also on Broadchurch. So we're looking at the inclusion strategy, and we're looking at just plain laziness.
Yeah,
bit off the screen.
Exactly. I mean, he basically heard his best friend, and I don't buy into all of this rubbish that he he tried to cast both male and female. Sure, he contradicts himself in an article where he says one of the conditions to taking the job was that he could cast a female doctor. But you see, he gave all the. I've always said this, right? He thought he was given the BBC outlandish conditions, and he called our bluff, and basically they went along with it, right? And he probably thought to himself, oh shit, I've actually got to produce something now, right? Panic mode, because there's been problems behind the scenes, Series 11. Now, I've actually got this from the horse's mouth themselves, because I actually have a little video up from BBC Radio where the presenter there actually says that there was problems behind the scene during production of Series 11. And that has carried into the production of Series 12. Now, we've had a delay. Now, people accuse the likes of me and your channel of, spreading hate and spreading lies and all this, right? Here's the bottom line, right? I've been saying this for a few weeks now. There has been no appearance of Jodie Whittaker or Chris Chibnall at San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con. The only bit of filming that we've seen is a blown up Dalek. We've seen footage of some Cybermen, right? We've even seen some footage of the Companions filming. When was the last time Jodie Whittaker was actually seen filming in her costume for Doctor Who? That's the question that people need to ask themselves. Now, some people say because she appeared on Children in Need, and I need to actually get this out there because this is very interesting. So there's some fans out there that think because Jodie Whittaker turned up at Children in Need last night, that means she's still the Doctor and she's going to be around for Series 13. Well, I've got some news for you. Back in 2005, Christopher Eccleston was fired. As we have found out, I've got his book there, and we have found out because he's done little articles because he hasn't shut up talking since, right? So he's opened the floodgates now, and we're getting to hear all the things that he has said. He was fired at a dinner party. He didn't know he was fired, and he hired David Tennant behind his back, right? While he was fired, he also appeared in Blue Peter in costume as the Doctor. So for anybody out there that's saying because Jodie Whittaker turned up at Children in Need that she's still in the role playing the Doctor and she's going to be around for Series 13, it means absolutely nothing, because in 2005, Christopher Eccleston was fired and he appeared on Blue Peter as the Doctor. And then it came out then, he did that interview, and then he said that he was leaving because he felt, well, at the time he said he didn't want to be typecast, and the series that he put out was basically two series in one because of the old format. They were using obviously the 45-minute format, yeah. But in his head, they were like the old, there was 2 20-minute episodes in his head. So that's what came out. So for people out there thinking that Jodie Whittaker's sticking around, because what I've been told since January, and I've been saying this since January on my channel, Jodie Whittaker is gone after Series 12. She's gone. Right now, here's the thing, right? And you have to look at the evidence lately, right? Where has Jodie Whittaker been? Yes, she turned up at the Welsh Baptist with Monique Gill. The interesting thing was that Chris Chibnall also showed up, but he wasn't interviewed, and he must have snuck in the back door because nobody knew he was there. Now, the interview with Jodie Whittaker and Monique Gill was very interesting, because if you actually listen closely to what they said, it was so obvious that they were trying to make it out that they were still working, because they said, oh, we're only down the roads, we're out for our mates' night out and all this, and it's been hard work, but didn't mention nothing about the show really. Just made, I can't wait for you to see what we've actually done. That was it, right? She hasn't been seen then since, and then obviously last night, Children in Need was our first appearance, right? The teasers that they done, we got the silhouette, the dark side of Jodie Whittaker, watch this space crap. And then we got the 15-second Tardis little teaser, which I do like myself now, I have to say, and I've been saying it consistently. I don't mind that little video teaser. But again, no Jodie Whittaker front and center. What people need to realize is that she's the star of the show, or she's supposed to be. She is the main face of Doctor Who. Why the hell have they not been promoting with Jodie Whittaker, Chris Chibnall, and the cast out there? That's the question fans need to ask, and they're not doing it. And this series is supposed to be dropping early 2020. right? They keep saying it in the articles, even on Radio Times. So they're still saying this is dropping early 2020. We're in November now, right? So where's the promotion? There has been absolutely none except for those 2 little teasers. That's it. And Jodie Whittaker has been nowhere to be seen. Even the footage that we've seen, as I said, they were filming. Some people, some fans are brilliant because they don't realize that they're actually, proving me point. Someone put up a video a couple of weeks back and they were saying they were filming in their area, but they were taking shots of buildings and stuff. So there was no Bradley Walsh, no Tolson Cole, no Manit Gill or Jodie Whittaker. Even with the Dalek scene that we seen on the bridge, there was no Jodie Whittaker there. There was no Manit Gill there. There was no Tolson Cole or Bradley Walsh. So where the hell are they? And where was Bradley Walsh last night, by the way? Unless he was... Now, I will say this, right? Bradley Walsh's non-appearance can be explained. He was either filming something for the chase. He was probably doing filming his other show at the same time. Or he was filming his new show that he's supposed to be starting in. But, again, it's children in need. I mean, it's for charity. I'm sure he could have got the day off. I just find his non-appearance a bit of a mystery. And I think there's something up with that. But people need to be asking the question, when was the last time Jodie Whittaker was actually physically seen filming by fans? And it's been months. This is what I've been told, right? And then I want to hear your thoughts on this, Bowstrek. But basically, this is what I've been told. The production of Series 12 started. There was a big blowout in Cardiff. Chris Chibnall apparently walked off, right? Jodie Whittaker then soon followed, right? Apparently he was coaxed back, right? But for a couple of weeks, about a 6-week period, Pete Matoig, whatever his name is, Pete Matoig, he's number 2, was overseeing production, right? But apparently Chibnall was forced back because obviously he's under contract with the BBC, right? They haven't terminated his contract yet. Actually, by the way, their contracts were supposed to be up for renewal I think it's this year anyway. They're up for renewal anyway. So the thing about it is, even though they've said that Chibnall has a 5-year plan, he's not actually under contract for 5 years. Their contracts need to be renewed. So apparently what happened is they got him back anyway. He's overseeing things. And since he's come back, he's been sticking his fingers in left, right, and centre. By the way, there was supposed to be a trailer, according to some rumours out there, on Children in Need. But apparently Chris Chibnall pulled it because he's such a control freak. He didn't want to put out. Also, apparently he's had problems with Jodie Whittaker with singing Yellow. Apparently he didn't want her to sing Yellow. I don't know why, to be quite honest with you. But Jodie Whittaker apparently made some interesting comments where she said, yeah, some members of the Doctor Who team didn't think this was a good idea. So I haven't seen those comments myself. I don't know how true it is, but a YouTuber that we both know out there reported on this. So, I mean, there has to be something in that because they wouldn't report news unless there was something in it. But, I mean, it has been a shambles from day one. They've been delayed, and they have been delayed. And people say, well, the reason why they didn't show up for San Diego and New York Comic Con was because they were busy. Well, it didn't stop them last year. And people look at it this way, right? This time last year, well, not this time last year, but you look at when Jodie Whittaker was revealed, you look, she was plastered all over magazines. She was plastered all over her TV screens, right? The promotion for Series 11 was intense. There's been absolutely no promotion for Series 12 except for 2 little teasers and what fans have leaked. Explain that.
I think they've definitely gone into hiding. Yeah. And I think within the BBC, I don't think everybody at the BBC is a far left ideologue. Because keep in mind, it's only been about 5 years since the BBC completely went to hell. So there are still some people there that would care about quality. They're probably trying to get rid of them because they're probably part of that pesky demographic. And there have been rumors of this as well, that some elements within the BBC are beyond pissed off over what Chibs and Whittaker have done to the show. So I'm pretty sure that's been a thing. And I think it's almost like the two of them are throwing a passive aggressive fit where they are deliberately refusing to appear in public, which I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
I think well, actually, they both said, Whitaker and Chibnall both said they don't actually read any criticisms of the show, which explains a lot. Well, Whitaker doesn't even know anything about the show prior to her reign. That's a whole other story. But I think this is also a middle finger to the fans. We don't care about you because we hate you because she wrote off the entirety of New Who as celebrating the white male gaze, and she can go to hell for that.
Yeah.
But it's like, we're here, we're not going to bother. Like when I went to the that exposition in or the fan expo in Toronto back in August.
Oh, Holly.
Yeah. And actually my good friend Tony, who some of you might remember, she did reviews with me for series 11. So Tony and I were both there to meet Capaldi, and we're looking around. So we're going to take account of how many people we saw dressed up as the 15th or the 13th Doctor. There were 5. In terms of Peter Capaldi, I think I counted at least 25. David Tennant was everywhere. There was actually a guy there that could have been David Tennant's clone. I should have taken a picture. And it's when you look at the contrast between the way Whitaker has dealt with the fans to where the way Capaldi has, and obviously they get paid for the signings, but you could tell I was near the back of the line, so it took about 2.5 hours to get to the front.
Wow.
But you could see how much he genuinely loved the fans.
Right.
Like it wasn't acting. There was pure joy on his face. And even when I went up there, he joked with us for a little bit. I asked him any chance of doing Big Finish, which he said no, which I think that means he's going to wait until Whitaker's done.
Yeah.
Malcolm Tucker won't be coming back, unfortunately. And, I'm glad I had the chance to tell him that, I technically Peter Davison was my doctor because that's the first one that I fully remember the entire run. But I was glad I was able to tell him in terms of New Who, man, you are my doctor.
Yeah.
And would Whitaker has she even done any conventions? Because I don't think she has, unless I'm missing something.
She did when remember they appeared at was a New York Comic-Con.
Okay, yeah, so she did that. Yeah.
Show as well. Do you remember she was on the catwalk? That's what I mean. She was.
Oh yeah, no, I actually did a video on that. Yeah, but I think that's the only one.
Yeah, she was on everything. But I mean, I remember that. I remember that day because I remember your excitement. Because
that's right. I was texting.
You were really, really excited, and I remember you showed me the photograph you got taken with, and you were really proud of it, and you even said it. And you see in videos that fans put up, he does have a genuine love for the fans and a genuine love for this show. And it's, for me, I'm going to say this, but I've speculated, and I've also heard his radio interview. I am convinced he was pushed. I
know he was pushed.
That he wanted to leave because. Do you remember, Ballstrick? I don't know if you remember. I put up a couple of articles.
Actually, yeah, I was about to bring that up because we both discussed this. Yeah. Around 6 weeks before Capaldi announced he was leaving, there was an article. It was up from the Radio Times, a few other media outlets as well, where Capaldi he said he was going to do at least 5 series, from what I remember from the article. So very clearly, he said he was going to stay. Then out of nowhere, 6 weeks later, suddenly he's quitting. And here's the funny thing. I know these articles existed, and right now I'm kicking myself that I didn't save them or do a video. I was going to do a video on it at the time, but ended up not doing it. And ever since, I've been trying to find those articles, and every single one of them has disappeared. I know, Noel, you had the same experience as well.
Yeah, just articles disappeared. But here's the thing that I noticed as well. There was a lot of articles coming out recently, which I was able to put in video form and throw them up on my channel, where the rhetoric that was coming out of Matt Smith's mouth, and it was like if it was a carbon copy interview, where they were basically saying that Doctor Who was very demanding. I think Christopher Eccleston said the same thing, And then David Tennant, there was an article with David Tennant expressing the same thing, basically making out that Doctor Who takes a lot out of you and all this. And because people, fans like us, are giving out about the time we've had to wait for a series like under Chibnall, you know, you have to give credit to Moffat. I know we criticize him, and we give, I mean, RTD as well. I mean, but they were able to throw out a series every year. This guy has what? How long are we waiting now? We're over a year. It'll be over a year. It's over a year already. We're going to be just, I think it'll be 14 months, maybe 15 months before we get a series. So it's near the timeline that he actually originally wanted, because apparently one of the things that he was upset about was that he wasn't getting enough time to complete the series the way he wanted to do it. He needed 18 months to 2 years. He wants to throw one out every 18 months to 2 years. But BBC have deals with all these other...
the deal with China.
And they have to throw out a series every year. So he's messing that up for them. But, I mean, look, it's dead. I mean, those articles came out only for the fact that, because they're trying to defend the fact that we've had to wait so long. So this rhetoric is coming out now where Doctor Who all of a sudden is a very demanding job. And it takes up a lot of your time and all this crap. This is what we're getting now. Well, I'm sorry, but aren't you paid to act? Isn't that the profession that you're in? You're going to have easy jobs and you're going to have hard jobs. Doctor Who is an amazing opportunity. And I never heard Peter Capaldi say anything about Tardis. And you are right about that article, because I remember even in the same article he said that he was looking forward to working with Chris Chibnall because he had worked on Bleeding Torchwood with him.
Yep.
Right? And I have to agree, when the two of them worked together on Torchwood, and I know Chris Chibnall had RTD over his shoulder, because I don't believe that Chris Chibnall is actually a great writer, to be honest with you.
Oh, he's terrible. I Children of Earth, which I think he's credited as writer and producer on that. That's, I think, the best thing that's ever come out of the Doctor Who universe.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have any input into that.
No.
He was there, but even the first season of Broadchurch, which seems to have been a fluke, look at the seasons that followed it.
No, season 2 was terrible.
I didn't even finish season 3.
And season 3, he tried to give Jodie Whittaker a more prominent role. I think he made her a counselor in that, and it just, I just don't think Jodie Whittaker is talented at all. I think she's at the level of acting of a soap star, and she's way over her head, playing this role. And it's actually sad, because Chris Chibnall has to take a lot of the blame, but she hasn't helped herself either with the rhetoric that she has come out with. I think if Jodie Whittaker, and I've always said this, I believe if Jodie Whittaker actually had to come out with that rhetoric, fans like us would actually be defending her. We would feel sorry for her, and we would be focusing all our attention on the shameful writing of Chris Chibnall and his team. Again, he's brought in, actually, that links up great now to the articles that have come out. The new writers, I know you did a video on it, but these new writers and new directors now, I mean, he's gotten more inexperience in. Now, I've seen some defenders of Chris Chibnall saying, well, certain writers had no experience back in the classic era, and then they wrote probably some of the greatest episodes, right? But here's the problem I have. The writers that he's brought in are Emmerdale level. They're Hollyoaks level. This is Doctor Who. This is 7 levels above. It's much higher. This is their flagship show. This is not a soap opera. You know what I mean? You need to be getting in some experience. I don't mind you bringing in some writers that are untested. Yes, why not? But have experience in there as well. But there's no experience. Right? Okay, Pete Mitoig has come back and the others have come back. But look at our episodes that they have written. Kerbalam is the best of a bad bunch, in my opinion. I know you've said the same thing. Kerbalam is probably the closest that resembled a Doctor Who episode. But again, he couldn't help himself with the political ideology. I mean, I've lost all my passion for Doctor Who now. I mean, I do, and I know you have as well. I watch Classic Who with a smile on my face still, but it's killed me passion for the new show. I don't even watch any of the other Doctors now because I just, because do you know what this series has done, right? I've become so, I look for anything now, right? And if I go back and watch the rest of the new Who now, I'll probably find things that I didn't notice before and be critical of them because that's what this era has done. It has made me super critical. And I hate that because I do love this show. And I know you love this show. And I know you're passionate about the show. And we both are. And we get criticized for the videos that we do. But the only reason why I do it is because I'm so passionate about this show. This show has potential. And it's always had potential, especially New Who. It has the money. You know what I mean? It doesn't have the money like HBO has or whatever, but it still has enough money to be juicing better. And I mean, the writers as well. That's the problem I have. I don't know how you feel about the writers, but I think there should be some experience in there. And I think Chris Chibnall should be. I know the rumor is that there's a female writer, Maxine Alderton. There's a rumor that she might be showrunner, but again, it's every little bit of information is getting hyped up because nothing's coming out. It's just a shambles. I don't know how you feel. I'm sorry, I'm rambling on a bit. But
Oh no, that's what we're here to do. Just before I go on about the 13th Doctors, just answering something in the chat. There's a discussion going on, and I've been asked a few times, who are your favorite Doctors?
Right.
It changes, but for New Who, Peter Capaldi, I think he was wasted, but I think his performance in Series 8 was spot on.
Yeah.
And I think even though everything got worse throughout 9 and definitely 10, he did the best he could with that material. But the best version of the Doctor from New Who is Series 8, Peter Capaldi. In terms of original Who, this one I often go back and forth on. It tends to sway back and forth between actually Colin Baker, Tom Baker, and Peter Capaldi. Not Peter Capaldi, John Pertwee. But on TV, I think I have to go with Tom Baker. But Big Finish, I have to go with Colin Baker. I'm sure there are a lot of people here that are Big Finish fans, but what Big Finish has managed to do over the last 20 years with the Sixth Doctor, really with all the Doctors, especially the Eighth Doctor, is absolutely brilliant. So, yeah. And no, please stop. Okay. I see a lot of Tom Bakers. Somebody say woke Batman. Woke Batman. I can't do it out of context. We'll do a woke Batman stream. We'll maybe have to smoke some happy stuff or something. I don't know. It's legal in Canada, so I can say that now. But yeah, before I go on, just quickly, Noel, who are your Doctors? Our favorite Doctors?
I agree with you with Peter Capaldi. I'm a huge defender of Peter Capaldi, and I do actually firmly believe that YouTubers like us might go back, watch his era again, and I think we might reevaluate. I know Moffat, did a lot of things wrong, but his performance especially, and I do like Series 8 like you, but I have to say his best performance in a story for me was Heaven Sent.
That's the best performance ever given by an actor playing the Doctor.
Yeah,
it's one of the best performances I've ever seen. That episode is brilliant.
And how he wasn't nominated for a BAFTA for that. That deserved a nomination. If anything ever deserved a nomination, it was that episode, and his performance absolutely fantastic. Now, with you, here's the weird thing. I'm like you. I don't like Colin Baker's Doctor on TV, but I've listened to a couple of his audios on Big Finish, and I actually do enjoy them. And like you as well, it's always between Pertwee and Baker for me. It does change. I mean, I was watching Pertwee's era, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I'm starting to think he has the better stories. I think he has the better stories, but I think Tom Baker is just that level above when it comes to the acting, actually embracing the role. but Pertwee has some amazing stories, and not so good stories, and a few of the stories do go on a little bit too long. But that's what Classic Who is about. You know what I mean? Some episodes, some stories we don't like, other fans will like, and that's the beauty of Classic Who. New Who is, it's especially Series 11. You're either in one side or another, and it's, oh, it just does me head, and I don't even like talking about Series 11 anymore because it just, every time I do, I just get angry. It just, there's no resemblance of the show. The two, there's no resemblance.
Anybody that hasn't seen Critical Drinker's video up yesterday, because he actually stopped watching around Series 6. So this was his reintroduction, mainly because I recommended he review Arachnids in the UK. Watch it from the perspective of somebody that hasn't watched for a few years.
Yeah, I mean, some people in the live comments are actually agreeing they like Colin Baker, Big Finish. Yeah, I do. I have to say, I do like Colin Baker, Big Finish. I just can't watch him on screen. I mean, I have the two Doctors there on DVD. I watched it a couple of weeks ago, and the only thing that I can remember from it, and this is the truth, the only thing I can remember from it is the absolutely wonderful performances from Patrick Troughton and Fraser Hines. But other than that, Colin Baker, to me, I just, every time he's on screen, he just, I don't know, he just comes across as an arrogant sod, and I just don't.
That was done on purpose, because the original plan for Colin Baker was he wanted to beat Tom Baker's 7-year record. So what they did for the original arc for his Doctor was similar to the arc that they tried for Capaldi's Doctor. Right. Where he was supposed to start off as just brash and arrogant and just a jerk. And then over the course of 7 or 8 years, the Doctor would slowly change and become really the Doctor that we hear on Big Finish, which is why he plays the Doctor so differently on Big Finish audios. Because the Doctor that he's playing there is where the 6th Doctor was originally supposed to go. But again, he got cut off. So when you watch it in that context, because you notice between his first episode, first season, and then the Trial of a Time Lord, you can actually see a shift in the way he plays the Doctor. So watch closely. It's actually worth going back and looking at those episodes and comparing his first episode, his first season, to Trial of a Time Lord, and you can see where the shift and change in personality was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so if you look at that in that context, where kind of like Capaldi, although I think it worked a little bit with them, the 6th Doctor was meant to be an asshole in his first 2 seasons. And John Nathan Turner did that deliberately. Turner and Eric Sayward, it was kind of their plot. It's also, you look at, and I see a few people mentioning Sylvester McCoy or the Dark Doctor in the chats as well. I think that's something that needs note as well. And compared to what's going on with Doctor Who, when they cast the 7th Doctor, it was obviously under extremely bad circumstances. Colin Baker had been fired, and season 24 is an absolute mess. Those 4 stories to this day I find unwatchable. I've never even finished the DVDs of any of those stories. I can't sit through them. And it's the same thing as, and I called this 2 years ago, it's the same thing with Series 11. Okay, things are going bad. What did John Nathan Turner, and it was mainly Andrew Cartnell, it was known as the Cartnell Plan, he was script editor at the time, but what they did with season 26 is season 25, they changed the tone a bit. So you still have 2 absurdist episodes, but you have 2 regular episodes, both featuring classic characters, which work really well. Then the Dark Doctor, which is really introduced in season 26, when we get, or in season 25, when we get to season 26, which I think might be one of the best series in Doctor Who's history, where they took the Doctor in an entirely new direction. The idea was, okay, we actually don't know who this character is. And Cartnell went as far as saying, who is the Doctor? The Doctor is God. And John Nathan Turner said, okay, I like it. You can write it, but you can't say it.
Right.
So that was the whole idea behind, okay, so the doctor that we've been watching all these years isn't who we thought through these, past 7 regenerations. It's actually something quite a bit more. And that's what they were building onto. And then they got cut off in season 26. So we never really got to see where that would go. There have been some reconstructions, but I think, for what I know, I think McCoy was supposed to do 5 or 6 years, and they were going to play out the Dark Doctor arc, which was almost the opposite of what they did with Colin Baker. But what the point that I'm getting at is, in season 26, JNT, who really just wanted out of the job at that point, but nobody wanted to take it, shifted gears, gave most of the creative control to Cartnell so they could save the show. And I think they did, but the problem is there was nobody left watching at the time.
Yeah.
Now we're in the Whitaker era, which we can look as season or series 11 as being similar to season 25, but really it's worse. But unlike what they did back in 1988, 89, they're not going to change anything. My view on this is, because we're looking at 2 very nasty, bitter people in charge of this, well, Whitaker and Chibnall, I think what we're going to see is a doubling down. So we're going to see the opposite. And the Doctor Who sadly might be dragged out like a corpse for a few years, because obviously the BBC is not beholden to the private market. And that it's going to be a joke. They're not, I don't think my own view is, I don't think that they'll fire the first female Doctor, or they'll try and spin it. Exactly. But I think one thing that you also said as well is,
I think you have a super chat there,
Bob. Oh, did I miss one? Oh, just a second.
Yeah.
Go back.
Yeah. I was trying to find.
I do. Okay, so R-Far, $8.99 New Zealand dollars. Well, thank you very much, my friend. Doctor Who, like so many other franchises, has become a horrible parody of itself. Agreed. That's actually that's where I was about to go. The show should have come to an end with Capaldi, the end of the 13 Lives. Yeah. I definitely think he should have, and I think Capaldi should have been the 13th Doctor. I don't think Moffat should have done his trickery. Just left things as they were. But even going into that, when and Noel, I know you were talking about as well, just the accusations that we all went into this to just hate it from the beginning. Going into series 12, I kept saying, going into series 11, I kept saying, if it's good, I will admit I'm wrong.
Yeah.
When The Woman Who Fell to Earth aired, my friend Tony and I actually recorded a live reaction before the discussion video we put up, which I never actually uploaded, but it's still sitting on my hard drive, where we were going into this and we're like, okay, we're going to give it a chance. And the real problems, obviously there was some agenda in The Woman Who Fell to Earth, but the real problems did not start to rear their heads until really episode 3. Well, 2, when she told off the white dude. But when I'm watching, I'm like, okay, she's all over the place, but this is a post-regeneration Doctor, so we see this every time. So we're putting this off to, maybe it's post-regenerative psychosis. That's how she's playing it. So I was willing to accept that that's what was going on with The Woman Who Fell to Earth. But then the Ghost Monument, which is probably one of the most forgettable episodes in Doctor Who history, rears its head. She's doing the same thing. Rosa, she's doing the same thing. I'm like, okay, no, that's not regenerative state. This woman cannot act. And it's so, and that's my take on it. Like, we were willing to give it a chance. We all gave it a chance. And the changing point was arachnids in the UK. That's why I recommended to Critical Drinker to look at that video. For me, it started around Rosa, which is when I came to the conclusion, just look at my video, that everything was going to hell. But all of us noticed, as soon as arachnids in the UK aired, the entire mood of the show changed. And I can see this in my like to dislike ratio from videos at the time. If I was, some videos I'd be lucky if I'd get 50%, because I was calling things as I thought they might play out. As soon as arachnids in the UK came out, that's when my like-dislike ratio shifted. And I think actually Gary from Nerdrotic noticed the exact same thing. And all of us that were covering videos, there was a complete shift in tone as soon as episode 4 came in.
Yeah.
And that's why I refer to that as the day that Doctor Who died. I personally, for me, it died with Rosa. It was a race baiting hate episode directed at Americans, and then the week later they do an entire hate episode dedicated to Americans. They did an episode dedicated to hating a single father. It's hateful. It's beyond just ideology. I find what's going on with Doctor Who now to be just hateful.
I remember when people did their Rosa videos, including myself, you got this, or you're a racist and stuff. The problem I have with Rosa is it has no business it being in the Doctor Who universe. It's a sensitive topic. It's also a very important piece of African American history.
It
And
is.
trivialize such an event. And what the hell was up with this space racist? Like, I mean, I call him leather jacket guy. What was that? What was, and again, white male, by the way, a former Hollyoaks actor, I think, by the way. It's the kind of actor that Doctor Who gets now. They don't actually get actors of quality anymore. They're going around looking for the cheap option, so they tap the likes of Hollyoaks and Emmerdale now. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a few more out of Emmerdale. But I remember the videos. I remember your very first video, the woman who fell to earth, and I remember you did give some good points. You actually didn't mind the incidental music because it was something different. It was something fresh.
Except he did the same thing for the next 9 episodes.
He then did chat, but I remember that first video. You weren't actually, you were actually fair. I thought in your analysis, I thought it was a quite balanced one. But you could see as the videos were going on, because I was the same as well when I was doing my videos. So I was just getting angrier and angrier as I was watching this show, and also at the same time, I don't know about you, but I've never actually fallen asleep during watching Doctor Who, especially the new Who era. I've always been excited, even when, Moffat would start something great and let us down. I'd still be excited, but I could not get excited. I was dreading every time Doctor Who came on because I knew each week it was being torn apart. Each week, a little piece of Doctor Who was being shredded. This has no resemblance of Doctor Who. And episodes like Demons of the Punjab and Rosa, in my opinion, have no place in the Doctor Who universe. Now, people will argue, well, Doctor Who has done political episodes in the past.
It's never taken one side, though.
Exactly.
Now.
Imbalanced. The Green Death, someone mentioned last night, is a perfect example of that. They show both sides of the argument. The difference is when you just hammer home the same message and you're trying to, you're basically bashing men every week, right? And you're trying to appeal to a certain demographic, but you're forgetting that most of your demographic are actually the people that you're bashing in the show. Well, then the show is going to suffer. I think Chris Chibnall gambled. He gambles, right? What he wanted was this. He wants to eradicate the Doctor Who fandom, and he wanted to replace the fandom with these people that share his same beliefs. But what's happened is not enough of them have came on board, and we've even seen that with the ratings, Ballstrek. And people can argue the ratings and say that this series was successful, but you've even done videos on it. This series has not been successful. The ratings do not lie. And it's been a huge drop from the first episode, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. And that's the only saving grace, actually, for this series, is the fact that actually did do well. The first episode was always going to do well. We even said it. We predicted it. We said it because everybody was going to be interested to see what the first female Doctor was actually going to be like. But I mean, the numbers don't lie. It's like, some people are saying it's a 45% drop, but I look at it from, if you get The Woman Who Fell to Earth all the way to Resolution, it's actually over a 50% drop in the actual ratings. And that is shocking. If that was any other show, it'd be finished by now.
Yeah. And I think some people are saying in the comments, well, Doctor Who has been partisan. What's different with really starting with the late Moffat era, but definitely in the Chibs era, is demographics are being attacked. So what classic Doctor Who, or what the classic series based itself off, it was based within traditional liberalism. But the Doctor was never outwardly hateful towards one group of people. The writing was never hateful towards one group of people. That's the difference that we're seeing with the Chris Chibnall era.
Yeah.
Rosa, I think, is a perfect example, because not only does it bastardize and it more, people are probably more familiar with it on this side of the pond, but it was an important historical event. But what Chibs did was, and you watch it in my video, and the video that I ended up putting up was actually a re-edited, toned down version, where the video was a full-on attack on white Americans.
Yeah.
Now, yes, racism was a major issue in the South during that time, but there were also many whites that put their lives on the line to fight for civil rights. Now, if you wanted to cover Rosa, you needed to cover both of those instead of completely demonizing one group of people, when, yes, a lot of them were like that, but they weren't all like that. But you portrayed them as all like that. And the fact that the character, okay, what's his backstory? He's a space racist. He's a white 1950s space racist. I'm like, so that's why, for me, Rosa is when Doctor Who died, but I think it finally hit people with arachnids in the UK. But that's the difference between old and new Who. It's always been left-leaning. But what we classify as the left is not what it was classified as, say, even 10, 15 years ago. The left, it used to be based upon rights for everyone.
Yeah.
Now it's based completely in ideology. What we know as the traditional left, the one that would fight for workers' rights, fight against exploitation, that left doesn't exist anymore. The left that Doctor Who spoke for during the classic series, and I think even during maybe some of the early series of New Who, that left doesn't exist anymore. What we have now is predominantly based on a hate movement, and all they care about is race, identity, gender. If you are a straight white male, it doesn't matter if you're begging on the street, you're scum. That's what the left has become. And that's why we're seeing the change, where, yes, Doctor Who's always been left leaning, but left doesn't mean the same thing that it used to.
I mean, Stephen Moffat actually makes, again, the little video that I put up on.
Yeah, he called Chibs out on it as well without mentioning him by name.
But he does a video with Mark, his co-writer, Mark Aces, where he basically says that Doctor Who shouldn't swing one way or the other. It should appeal to everybody, but he kind of contradicts himself, because, near the end of his era, obviously he swung one way, and, he started it all off, to be honest with you. But BBC got themselves in this position because of, like, what Hollywood has gotten themselves in the position, all these historical allegations against kids. Jimmy Savile, for anybody on the US side doesn't know, there was a guy working for the BBC called Jimmy Savile.
Oh, I know about it all too well. That story is beyond horrific.
Yeah, and this is why BBC are in the position that they're in, because, these people know, what happened in the past, so they use that, they weaponize that, they get into high positions in the BBC. They basically then take over, and that's what's happened to BBC. BBC basically have their hands tied behind their back. The government forced all these things on them because of that one guy. Well, there were several people within the BBC that were involved, but he was the most horrific one of all. I mean, they reckon it was thousands of children and women that he abused, and they knew about it and they covered it up. And that's why BBC are in the position that they're in now. And this is why most of their shows have gone woke, because they're afraid to go against this movement now, because they're afraid there might be other historical cases out there brought up, and then that's the end of the BBC. BBC are treading on eggshells right now. So,
and the Chris Chibnall Twitter account is trolling me again. I'll just respond with the same way I usually do. Shut up, Chibs.
I would love one of them to show up on these channels. They don't.
Oh, they never would, because they can't argue against it. That's the problem.
Yeah,
Because we're using logic. They can't use logic because you can't logically explain what they're doing.
yeah. Do you even know what you tried to do with the Series 11? Because I don't. Because if you take away all the political agenda and innuendo, what are you left with?
You have nothing. Okay,
Yeah,
well, let's go. Let's just do a quick summary of Series 11. See if I can even remember the episodes, because they're that forgettable. So, episode 1, the woman who fell to Earth was forgivable
yeah,
because she was, but the tooth monster was just ridiculous,
yeah.
and yeah, so close to being forgivable. The Timeless Monument, other than Whitaker yelling at the white dude, and didn't she shoot him? I can't even remember. Completely forgettable. Then we have Rosa. We've
Yeah.
already talked about that. Then we had Arachnids in the UK. We've already talked about it. Watch Critical Drinker's video on it. It's awesome. Then we had the Saranga conundrum.
Yeah.
Which, what the fuck was that? That is actually possibly the worst episode. That's the one with the pregnant dude,
Yeah,
but that episode was just a goddamn mess.
even the media slayed that one. Not
Yeah.
even one media outlet actually said that was good. And you've got another super chat, so I'll shut up. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So, Michael, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name. Lysot, I do apologize. I tried to get that right. For £2 UK, BBC, you must conform. Yes. Unfortunately, you do. And from their point of view.
Mad nut. That's euro. It's euro. It's €2.
Oh, wait. Well, yeah, see, I'm blind. €2. I need new glasses. All I see is a little squiggly line. Literally, I'm like half blind at this.
Yeah.
And
Do you know what, Tim Shaw? Let's talk about Tim Shaw for a minute in The Woman Who Fell to Earth, because remember, this guy shows up at the end, right? And apparently this was some clever move by Chibnall. It was his race was mentioned, I think, one other time during the series. Even that shows how ridiculous he is. He's not good at developing characters, and he definitely isn't good at creating story arcs. He just can't. He doesn't know how to do it. And the Tim Shaw is the perfect example. The stanza, is that what they're called? The stanza.
yeah, the stanza.
Once after that, that's it. And then shows up at the end, and we're meant to believe that that's some sort of amazing twist, and we didn't see that. It was so bloody obvious. Do you know what? That was the only thing he could do, because everything else that he done for that whole series was absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, it got worse. Rosa bad, I agree. Arachnids absolutely disgraceful. But I mean, even Demons of the Punjab.
That's where I was going next. That is actually the only video that I've ended up setting to private on YouTube, because things got so out of hand. People were taking clips of my video. They were using it out of context. At one point, I just got sick of it. And I might actually put it back to public, but I was just tired of dealing with these idiots. I'm going to put the full video up on BitChute regardless, so it's still available. But that one, you cannot criticize that episode in any way, shape, or form without being called a racist. Even though Vinay Patel took what was an incredibly complex issue, which was the partition of India, did not even seem to understand it himself. You can't cover something like that in a 45-minute episode, even if you know what you're doing. But that one pisses me off, because that's really when the divide started to come. So yeah, if you try, my episode discussion with Tony is still up, but my review for now, because I'm tired of arguing with these idiots, is set to private. I will return it at some point, but I'm also going to add it to BitChute. It's just, at some point, you just get tired of screaming into a tunnel. So it's the only Doctor Who video that's been ever made private on my channel, but it's because I got sick of it.
Yeah, you've got another super chat, and a couple of people say you put that video back up as well.
Okay, what I'll do, guys, I will put it back up, because it's been private for a while, and I'm sure the idiots have stopped swarming the video. So I will put the channel back up. So let's see. So we have, for what's ZAR?
Oh, Oh, is that? Oh, I haven't. Hold on. I'll tell you now.
Okay, so ZAR 14 from Archon, I'm going to say it's Archon. Is there any way they can still save Dr. Womb? Honestly, oh, you got it, Noel?
It's South African rand.
Okay, African. Okay. So, is there any way they can save Doctor Who? Right now, no. The reason being is they've alienated and attacked the audience.
Mm-hmm.
I think some will come back, but a lot won't. And also the problem is, say if we had a teaming up of somebody like Tom Baker, Philip Hinchcliffe, and Robert Holmes, which I think was the ultimate Doctor Who dream team. That was the golden era.
Yeah.
Even if we had a team like that, they would still be subjected to current BBC policies. Yeah. The BBC would be directing them what to do. Now, the episodes would be better. The dialogue would obviously be better because Robert Holmes was a genius.
Yeah.
The acting would be better. But the essence, and Chibs is saying, I am saving Doctor Who. Fuck off, Chibs. Sorry. In case anybody's wondering, somebody actually created a Chris Chibnall channel, which trolls me in every video. So we've been going back and forth for 2 years. But yeah, so even if you had the dream team, you're still subjected to BBC policies. They're not only policies as to what demographics have to be on screen, but they're also policies as to what has to be covered on screen, which is why you see random characters that don't make any sense coming out everywhere. So there's that. You could have a great team. They're still subjected to the BBC. And I think this is also partially what happened outside of trying to overcompensate for being accused of being a misogynist. But I think that's also partially what happened during the later Moffat-Capaldi era, because the BBC had started enforcing these back then.
Yeah, he even said so himself, actually, in an interview. You've got another.
Oh, we got another one. Rubles. Jeannie Dark. It's a big fashion thing with the politics. Agreed. I remember a certain G from the cast went into hissy fit on a conversation some years ago towards my mate, seriously asking, so who out of you people hacked the elections? Well, yeah, everything is fashionable right now. And you saw that in Doctor Who, where they're including references to Trump.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, okay, here's the thing about being political. And even though people call me a right-wing extremist, which anybody that is to the left of Nancy Pelosi now is a right-wing extremist, but whenever I take a political compass test, I either come off as center right or center left, depending on how I'm feeling that day. Right. But here's the problem when you include politics. Not everybody doesn't support Donald Trump. Not Donald Trump. When you look at an issue like Brexit, half support, half don't. When you include politics and use it in a partisan way, when you reference actual politicians and actual political events, especially now, you're going to alienate half your audience. It doesn't matter if it comes from the right, doesn't matter if it comes from the left. And that's what we're seeing. And I think that's another reason why Doctor Who will not come back. The politics, where they've alienated people that way, they're going to be subjected to BBC quotas and demands. And there's also the fact that they've alienated everyone. I'd say a good 80%. Anybody that grew up watching classic Doctor Who, for the most part, is alienated at this point.
Exactly.
But I think we were, so we were going over the episode. So we had Demons of the Punjab. Right. Can't criticize that without being called a bastard. Kerblam, closest thing we had to real Doctor Who. But again, we thought it was going to be an attack on capitalism. White dude is the idiot and white terrorists are incompetent. The Witchfinders, which I call Jodie Whittaker spews feminist talking points at us for 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. Then we have It Takes You Away, which is the only episode in Doctor Who that has made me genuinely angry. And that's the one where they attack single fathers, which I think is disgusting. Then we have the Battle of Ranskor Av Kolos, which is probably the least terrible out of the 10. but not great, and really very underwhelming for a series finale. Mark Addy's performance was good, but in terms of a season finale, it was underwhelming, but it was an underwhelming season. Then we have Resolution, which I barely even remember what happened, but I know it was the lowest rated special.
Yeah. Well, here, before you continue on, you've got another super chat there, but I'm just keeping an eye for you just in case you do miss it.
Yeah, I'm kind of going back and I refresh the when it. So for $5, have you ever considered live streaming with the other Fandom Menace creators? I bet you'd have fun. Actually, I have. I've actually done a number of live streams with Gary from Nerdrotic, which he's probably going to be on one of these Saturday streams as well. We just have to set it up. I'm always up for streaming with anyone. I don't, excuse me, I don't stream often, or I didn't until now. I was mainly interested in just making my edited videos, but I've decided to experiment with doing this every weekend, and I'm always up for appearing on other people's channels as well. But yeah, that's so it was Trinoculus P. Well, thank you very much for the $5. And yeah, I will, if any of them want to have me on or want to come on here, just drop me a line. But, even last week I did I think I was on for like 3 hours with Critical Drinker. We actually had a really good time. The live stream is still up on his channel as well. If anybody wants to check it out. I know I've been on Noel's channel a few times as well, but yep, anybody's welcome.
That's it.
Yeah. So we're approaching the 2-hour mark, which we had intended on going for 2 hours. I don't want to keep it too much beyond that because, I think 2 hours is kind of a comfortable length. But Noel, did anything that we wanted to add before we sign off?
I think we've kind of covered everything. We're all bracing ourselves now, obviously, for Series 12. You've got another super chat there, so I'll let you read that one first.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so $25. Awesome. Thank you very much, Privacy Seeker. Peace, Bulls Trek from Ev Brown. Okay, yeah, it's he's actually been following me on Twitter pretty much since the day I brought my channel back from the dead. From Twitter, I am enjoying these discussions. Well, thank you very much, my friend, and I enjoy talking to you on Twitter as well. So yeah, I know a few people here that are showing up. Noel, so anything that we wanted to close off with? Oh, actually, I've got $32 from my very good friend Gary Nerdrotic. Thank you for stopping by, Gary. I love you guys. I'll have you both on soon. Hail Bulls Chat. Well, thank you very much, Gary. So everybody, hail Nerdrotic.
Yeah, hail Nerdrotic. I love Gary. Gary is I've had problems with my YouTube channel, and I just want people to actually know this because Ballstrek, Gary, Doomcock, and others get a lot of criticism from some members of the fandom. But what they don't realise is the work they do behind the scenes and how helpful they are. I mean, I've had problems with uploading videos on my channel. Let Gary know, and he said he'd go and check it out for me. Ballstrek was the same, and Doomcock. 3 of them got in touch with me straight away because I was worried about my channel. So I just wanted to let guys know that these lads, they're decent human beings, and the criticism that they get is actually unjustified. They're very passionate at what they do, and there's just people out there that just don't like what they're saying because they speak the truth. It's as simple as that, and they show the facts as well, and you can't argue against facts. So what do? You slander, you slate, you slag off, and you label these people. But my experience with the 3 of them and other YouTubers out there has been absolutely one of great pleasure. I've never had a problem with any of them, and they're very helpful. So I just wanted to get that out there. But we're bracing ourselves for Series 12. We're going to be doing reviews.
We're all going to be. There's going to be a lot of live streams and discussion when that starts.
But I mean, it's going to be something to savor. It's going to be a shit show. I'm being honest. I agree with you. I know I was optimistic for months, thinking they wouldn't double down. But I've seen the writers and directors that have been at it, and I've seen what work they've done before. They're going to
got another super chat. So this one is from the Phantom 56 for $10.
Nice.
Hey, Bulls Trek, love your content. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, my friend. Don't be such a downer. Anything can be saved. Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who. They can all be saved. They just got to get people who want to entertain. And yeah, I can see that argument as well. I think it's mainly because
it's mortally wounded right now.
like we want to see Doctor Who saved. One thing that I actually mentioned about Star Trek last week is I think out of all the franchises, Star Trek might have the best chance of being saved, mainly because, and we'll compare it to Star Wars, which is the closest example. Star Wars, what happened was very public. So everybody knows the Phantom Menace, even what we call the normies. Nobody likes it. So Star Wars, and we saw it with Solo. That was a direct pushback in episode 9. We're going to see that as well. Why I think Star Trek pre-Picard, Picard is a whole other story, or Star Trek Picard, but up until this point, Star Trek Discovery is on a small network that nobody watches and nobody knows exists. When you mention Star Trek to somebody, they still think the original series. They still think the Next Generation. Star Wars, they think The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So I think we can be grateful for the fact that nobody watches CBS, nobody watches Star Trek Discovery. Few people even know it exists. Even when I put out a Star Trek Discovery video, they're amongst my least watched videos because even the show has such a low profile, even the hatred towards it is small. Star Wars Mandalorian does give us some hope, but I'm actually going to get a few episodes into it before I give my thoughts. Doctor Who, I think best case scenario for Doctor Who is it needs to go away. And I've said this a few times before, but Doctor Who needs to go away for at least a decade. At least. And when it comes back, if the BBC is still going like this, sell it off to, or partner with Amazon Prime, partner with someone else that knows what they're doing. So I don't think anything is beyond salvaging. I'm like, Star Wars has had bad movies before. Episode 1 and 2 are, well, crap. Although I do love the Palpatine arc, so that makes those two movies worthwhile. But it's more the attack on the fans is what's difficult for a lot of people to swallow. And that's what we're seeing with everything right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. I don't think anything is beyond salvaging, but I think some franchises will be more difficult to salvage than others. And
I think
kind of
Star Wars is definitely going to be very difficult because there's a lot in that fandom that are really hurt. And even as we were talking about, you're going to watch the Mandalorian, even if that's even half decent, you know, people will find fault with it because they're just so pissed off with Disney right now. I'm not a traditional Star Wars fan. I'm not like invested as much as other Star Wars fans. I was more of a Trekkie myself, but I'm looking at this from the outside, and I think it's actually truly disgusting what Disney has done to Star Wars and its classic characters. I mean, the way they've been treated, and the next movie, there's going to be, the rest of them are going to be finished off. I think, personally, I think Disney have a bit of a plan. I don't think they want to be paying George Lucas money for, you know, because there's been little, I've been watching the videos that Gary's been putting out, Doomcock's been putting out. It looks like they like what Chris Chibnall's been doing actually with the redesign of the Dalek. It's a kind of, I think it's a clever way of trying to get around paying all these different estates. And that's why they make different changes to this. Even the Jadoon have hair on top of their head. There's little design. It'll be interesting. Even the Cybermen have undergone a slight redesign. Chibnall is slightly redesigned and stuff. Is this a way of getting around paying these estates, as I said? And I think that's what Disney Star Wars is trying to do. I don't think they want to be given money to George Lucas. They give him enough as it is, and I don't think they'll want to try save money everywhere possible. So they're probably looking at this, bring back the old characters, kill them off, and then we could start afresh with our own Star Wars franchise, and we don't have to pay him any royalties for the merchandise because it'll be separate to what he did. And I think that's what they're trying to do. Now, that's just personally me. That's what I think they're trying to do. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think Star Wars is dead in the water, just like Doctor Who. And I agree. I think both need to go away.
Yeah, I think Star Wars might be the most difficult to save, to be honest with you. I think it really depends on. I think it actually depends a lot on the Mandalorian. If it can win back fans, if they can avoid wokeness, or at least try and keep it to a minimum, maybe. With Star Wars, as we get into Episode 9, which is actually just a little over a month away.
Yeah.
I know we're all going to be, Starry-Eyed Girl just popped in. Hey, how's it going? We'll probably chat later as well. I see all these people that I know in here. And sorry if I've responded to all the super chats. I know I haven't been able to respond to everybody in the regular chat. I've been trying to do it as I go on. But yeah, Star Wars, when we get into Episode 9 on my channel, you're going to see a lot of videos. My focus is going to shift for a brief period of time over to Star Wars, unless YouTube has us all taken down first, which is always a possibility. But yeah, we'll be dissecting that. I am going to subject myself to Episode 9 because I think I owe it to my viewers to do an actual review and actually see it. I did not see Dark Fate because I wasn't paying any money to watch that pile of ass. But I think it's important that I see Episode 9, and I'm going to do a lengthy review of the episode. And there's going to be many live streams. I know release weekend, as soon as we both see it, I know Critical Drinker and I are going to be doing a stream on it. I know, Noel, you and I will definitely be talking about it. I'll almost certainly be talking about it with Gary and other YouTubers as well. But Star Wars, it depends on the next few months as to what happens.
Yeah, that's going to be, I'll just end with this and say that's going to be one hell of a shit show. I mean, the rumors abound as well for that movie are actually quite frightening if true.
And I tend to think they are.
Yeah, which is scary. So this movie, and look, we've already seen that trailer. I mean, JJ, I just want to say one thing with JJ, because obviously we had him part of the Star Trek universe. But the thing is, he has this thing about spaceships coming out of clouds, coming out of oceans and stuff. And to see that Star Destroyer come out of that water and space horses, oh my God. Look, it's getting ridiculous now.
Oh, we're gonna have a fun time. It's I don't know. Apparently, the movie is still being edited now, and the test screenings are just horrendous. So I think, to put it short, I think at least with Episode 9, they're fucked, and they did it to themselves.
Yeah, and you know what? Rightly so, because they treated the fans with disrespect. The cast members of certain movies have come out and attacked the fans. Fans that actually made these franchises something in the first place. So do you know what? Disney and everybody that's working on a Kathleen Kennedy and all those others, they deserve what they're getting right now. And you know what? I know you're going to review it, but I would say to people out there, I wouldn't even waste me money on a ticket. To be honest, why watch a movie that's going to make you angry? You already.
I might hypothetically be one of these people with the way my local theater is laid out. That might now we're talking hypothetically, maybe not in reality. I might buy a ticket to anything that isn't Star Wars and just sneak into possibly Star Wars. Hypothetically.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating things.
That's it. We wouldn't do that on this channel.
It's a hypothetical scenario that may
That's it. But look, I mean, it's sad to see though, and it's sad to see all these once great franchises being torn apart and used as political footballs. It's sad. And you know what? As we said, and this is the sad thing about this is a phase. Okay, it's hung on longer, but it's going to disappear. But look at all the damage it has done in a short space of time. It's all those franchises gone. Terminator gone. Star Wars gone. What else? What else is there? There's loads more. Ghostbusters, there might be a chance of that being saved. Bill Murray has signed up for Ghostbusters too, but I'm cautious about that movie. I'm praying to God it's good because they've gotten most of the old cast back.
I think Ghostbusters, it's a direct response to Ghostbusters 2016, and Dan Aykroyd is pretty much on record saying Paul Feig will not be stepping on the Sony lot anytime soon. So I have good hopes for that one.
I hope so. Fingers crossed, because that's a franchise that I believe, if done right, can be resurrected, and you can hand over the torch if done properly, which should have been done in the first place. In fairness, they should have been brought back for that 2016 movie, not went with the all-female cast, and actually, their grandkids or their children could have took off something. They could have. I heard Seth Rogen was actually one of those that was actually when they were thinking of rebooting Ghostbusters, and he spoke about coming on board. I wouldn't have minded him coming on board. I actually like him. I think he's fun. But I don't know. Again, I'm cautious now when I choose me movies and me TV shows, because there's still good shows being made. But you can even see in later series of those shows that they're starting to come in line. Stranger Things is a perfect example of that. So, I mean, hopefully they don't get their claws on everything, because this is absolutely ridiculous. This phase, in my opinion, should have been well gone by now, and I don't know how long it's going. How can I ask you, just before we do leave, how long do you think this is going to last? How many more years do you think we're going to be in this situation for?
Well, if you look at it this way, from concept to final product, the average is going to be about 2 years. So if we're looking at stuff that's coming out right now, this was planned probably around 2017.
Right.
So there is a chance that it might turn around soon, but the fact is, with all the doubling down that we're seeing, I think it could be a few years. I think it might be a scenario where it doesn't change until every studio collapses itself.
Yeah.
So I would hope this is the end of it, but I don't think. Look at Phase 4 of the MCU.
Yeah,
for example.
Yeah.
Like that. That's in the planning stages now. So I think we're going to be like this for a while, and I think it's going to suck. But I say, thank God we still have all the classics. And if you're physical media collectors out there, think companies like Arrow Video, Shout Factory, Vinegar Syndrome that are giving us these classics that we can watch while everything degenerates into crap.
Yeah, we've regressed. That's what's happened. Society has regressed, and entertainment has just become an absolute joke and a tool for these people. Right. Well, I suppose we've kind of spoke about everything that we can.
Yeah, and we made it just a little over the 2-hour mark, so we will be back. I think this went well. I will probably do this again next weekend. I know, Noel, you're definitely going to be on it again. I'm going to rotate out some guests as well, depending on who wants to be on. Just send me a message on Twitter, and we'll try and schedule something. Chris Persia, you're in the chat as well. Hey, Chris, how's it going, fellow Canadian? And Derek McManus is here as well. These are all my Twitter friends. But anyways, so if we don't have anything else to say, I'm going to call it a day for this chat, but we will be back unless something unforeseen happens 1 p.m. next Sunday. So
all I'll just say is don't forget to subscribe to both channels if there's anybody new.
And actually, Noel's channel, it's supposed to be in the description. It will be after the fact, but for Noel, just go to YouTube, put in the Tardis Zone, because I think your link has a numbered end on it, not your actual name. So look at the Tardis Zone. You'll get Noel. Subscribe to his channel. He does regular phone-ins. Anybody is allowed to come on his channel. It's a how would you describe your channel, Noel?
Well, Lately it's turned into a channel where I give fans that are disgruntled with Doctor Who a voice because they feel they've been ignored. So basically, they just come on, they air their grievances, and obviously we talk classic Who as well, and we have a discussion on New Who as well, all the different seasons. We talk about episodes and stuff like that, but it's primarily for people that have felt left out by this regime, and there is a lot of fans out there that do feel left out, Ballstrek, which is the sad thing. And the one thing that I hear from them all, which does make me sad, is the fact that they've all said they've lost our passion for Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And that's why I do what I do anyway, and I try to, I don't know, I try to have Doctor Who discussion and try, cheer people up. And obviously I have the odd rant.
Actually, what I'm going to do here, I've got your channel up. I'm going to put this in the chat because, I don't think the subscription came up. Okay, so for Noel's channel, it's in the chat, direct link. So hashtag subscribe to Tardis Zone.
Thanks very much. I appreciate that.
And we'll see how quickly we can finally get. Well, you're up to 619 subs, so thank you to everybody that has subscribed. We're going to try and get Noel up to 1,000 subscribers by Christmas.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks very much, and I want to say thank you to everybody that has subscribed as well. And come join me for my live streams as well. And obviously, don't forget to watch Ballstrek's videos as well. And we'll be doing serious 12 reviews together as well. And he'll be doing with multiple people. So it's an interesting couple of months ahead. So support your favorite YouTuber is what we say. And the only reason why we're saying this because YouTube's new rules have come into play, and it's making it harder for channels to be noticed, especially ones like mine and Ballstrek even as well. They've changed the algorithms and everything. They're doing everything in their power to make it harder for people. Like
every time I put up a video, I have no idea what's going to happen.
Most of the time you get demonetized. It gets demonetized, doesn't it?
And it's done at random. And I rarely even swear in videos anymore. And every video goes to review. Knock on wood. Only one in the past year hasn't passed review. But it's random. I will publish a video, and I don't know until I published it. I go to the channel page, and I see that yellow arrow or the little yellow $sign. And even when it gets remonetized, those videos never recover. The views are crap. Everything is crap.
So that's what I'm saying. They actually demonetize you at your peak, and they're cleverer, and they're doing that with other YouTubers as well. It's the kind of try to discourage you from doing what you're doing. But as we know, as you have said, and several YouTubers like myself have said, we're going nowhere. I mean, we're not going to sugarcoat anything. We're gonna tell the truth we're gonna tell it the way we see it. But a lot of people do agree with what we say because they could see it with their own eyes, and it is sad. We could talk for hours about.
I might even do a stream of that if YouTube doesn't stop pissing me off. But we'll save that for the other stream.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And thanks everybody for subscribing. I see in the live comments there, some of you have said you have subscribed. Thanks.
You're up to. We'll just refresh it one last time. See what you're up to. Yeah, you're up to 622.
Nice one. I appreciate that, Ballstrek, and thanks for having me on.
It was awesome, my friend, and we will have you on as well. And let's see if I can do my close-off without a script. Do I want to do it in my angry voice or my woke Batman voice? I'll do it happy. Right. And that's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe and check your subscription and notification status because YouTube is being shady on these things lately, and follow me on Twitter. And as always, everyone, thank you for watching and have a great day.